My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
This is the Ospreys Diary. Hello, welcome back to the Ospreys Diary podcast. And before we go into our usual shambolic banter podcast, I want to start with basically, a well wishes to Ollie Cracknell, former Osprey, was here for a few years, was in the Welsh squad in 2017, obviously never got capped, but a fine servant for the club. He unfortunately lost his father in the week building up to Leicester's game against Exeter Chiefs, and he made the decision that he would like to play in that game, and was put in a man of the match performance to beat Exeter Chiefs at Sandy Park. So from sort of everyone here at Ospreys Diary, and we just want to send our best wishes to Ollie and all those around him. Cool. And then sort of on the trend of best wishes, actually, some really grim news came up against this week. Ollie Griffiths, 29-year-old flanker, very talented flanker at the Dragons, has been sidelined for a further number of months after they found a tumor on his spine, which is just grim, man. Like, the bloke's had horrific luck with injuries, but we wish him all the best. We wish him get back on that field soon, preferably not against us. Because quite frankly, Dragons, I'm sick of you now. But yeah, all the best, Ollie.
Absolutely.
Gents, how are we?
Good. I'm not called Ollie, so it seems to have been a quieter week. Yeah. No, it's too.
Well, it's not been a quiet week for you.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's been a week. Lots happened. 2 trips to Rodney Parade. Had a house move fall through, all sorts. Like, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, it's been a busy week. An awful lot has happened this week.
Squidge Towers 2.0.
Not to be as it turns out. Just got a second video up in the week. So that's just happened in the last, literally we were 10 minutes late to record because I was finishing the thumbnail and putting it up. So that is on the internet now on Argentina, which we did not expect to be making, but there you go. Because that happened while I was on the train back from Newport, having both my first and second trip to Rodney Parade.
And also now you're basically Sheridan Smith, because you're with ITV now as well.
Yeah. I will be alongside Sheridan Smith, starring in a 4-part drama about the Dragons' win on Saturday. Yeah, they've decided that noteworthy enough that the Dragons haven't won a game since about 1826. So they thought, you know what, we're going to cast Sheridan Smith as Di Flanagan. I'm going to play Luke Yendall. And between us, we're going to recreate on ITV at 11:30 a.m. on ITV1 on a Wednesday, and then repeat it at 7 p.m. on ITV4, I believe. I'm doing some bits for ITV over the course of the Premiership season, so that's exciting.
What's quite funny is I was listening to Blood and Mud where you were outed by Lee as
yes,
Topsy Ozio's replacement, and It came up on my Instagram, I think, as like an ad for Vera, the
Mm.
long-standing Geordie detective show. I was like, wow, I'm not sure about the reboot of Vera.
We're on the same payroll,
Is
just as
Murphy
like me and Martin Scorsese and Zendaya are on the same payroll for Squarespace. Me and Sheridan Smith and the other person that's on ITV
Who
sometimes.
else is on ITV
Um,
a lot?
Simon Cowell, probably.
Yeah. Can't
I
think of any ITV dramas that I've watched recently.
Yeah.
It's the same.
I watched the Stephen Moffat thing with Karen Gillan and your
Oh,
man
I
Hugh
haven't watched
Bonneville.
that yet. That's
I watched
supposed to
that.
be
It's pretty good. It's all
yeah.
right.
Is it
Um,
comedy?
we veered so far so hard. You haven't even introduced Yeston yet.
Yeah, well, a man again who had a busy time because he was at Rodney Parade. He
Hmm.
wasn't at Cardiff Arms Park because they didn't let him. Yeston, how are we?
I'm all good. I thought I had a busy few days, and then Robbie's just come in and trumped everyone out of the water. So, yeah, and yeah, no, it's been good, interesting couple of days. Started my final year of university, which is daunting and scary and exciting at all at the same time.
Just do
Um,
masters, you'll be fine.
I no clue what's going to be me in the next 12 months, but if I get there, I'll be very happy. And managed to sit down and watch the entirety of Argentina against South Africa, which was really good fun. And yeah, there was a few other rugby matches I watched during that day. Um, and then I watched Toulon and Stade Francais Sunday night then, which is
Ooh, good game.
14-10, I think that.
Kyle Sinclair
Mm.
rejuvenation season. He's genuinely like he's been at every midi Olympic team of the week.
Yeah, it's just a lot of English players in the team of the week now. You just
Yeah, Mako Vanapola like standing out Van's first ever win in the top 14, which was
Yeah.
huge. That was great fun.
Um, what have I done? Not much. I um I managed to watch the game Saturday just. I went down to my flat, which I'm moving out of, and they'd already cut off the Wi-Fi despite saying we're moving
Oh
out the
shit.
week after. So like any sane person, I went to the Weatherspoons across the road and watched it there with my £1.56 refillable coffee. Um,
On a laptop or
no,
the
right. So I took my iPad to put it on, and it wasn't working. So I had to watch it on my phone,
oh
which
oh,
was not great, if I'm honest. And the result didn't exactly help.
it's always one of the luxuries about whenever you're back in Wales and the rugby's actually on TV. Because
Yeah,
if you're in a pub in England, in most of England, and you go up to the counter and you ask, like, can you put the Dragons game on? They will not know what you're talking about. It will not land well.
yeah. Can you put the Friday night kickoff of Connacht versus Ulster on?
Yeah.
Because let's be fair, it's Ulster. They'll be on a Friday.
I had
Uh,
it. I went to a rugby pub in Dublin once to watch the Ospreys Saracens that was on. And
which one? It's been Sam
the
Cross.
Dan Evans kicking someone in the face game.
That was
Um,
no, that was Racing.
yeah, that was Racing.
you're right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
He
Yeah.
kicked Teddy Thomas.
Yeah. But I was assured that they would put it on, and I then was sort of too embarrassed once they put the rugby on to go any further and ask for the right game. So I had to watch Ulster against someone instead and have it on my phone, secretly looking over.
And then I did, but then I managed to borrow a neighbour's Wi-Fi so I could watch
Oh,
Scarlett,
nice.
Benetton, and then I contractually enjoyed the Quins versus Sale game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Um, Mainly
God,
for the Lee Halfpenny kick, which was a
hey,
bad one.
I hear the highlights of that are going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I can't wait for the segment on Bath v Leicester
Every,
next week that you're
every other
right.
week. Every other week.
If there's ever a setup now for a 9-6 win,
Yeah. It's
um,
me sending hurried emails going, can we please do the 48-28
yeah,
like
yeah,
blowout at
yeah.
Newcastle one?
Can we please do it the 48 all draw that had
Yeah.
comparisons this week? No, you're doing 9-6-3 Nicky Smith scrum penalties.
Oh, if it's Nicky Smith, now I'm sold. Now I'm
Yeah,
back in board.
It will be Nicky Smith versus Archie Griffin.
Yeah, of course. Wales has 2 starting props.
I wish. Cool.
Right.
So
Yeah, we've avoided it long enough.
we avoided it long enough. Vardy Boshoff's coming back.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's the
not
news.
that.
That's not what
That
we were
is
avoiding. Vardy,
news.
we're very happy to see you. So he's coming back on a season-long loan, which we reported ages ago. You're welcome. For
Well-
once, something I predicted has come true.
So I think it's important. It adds depth at center, which we were desperately lacking, I think.
Let's look at our
Because at the
centre back.
minute, yeah, at the minute there are players there, but it takes one injury to be scraping the barrel a bit.
So you got Keith, Watkin,
Yep.
Bill,
And then Tom Florence.
Lawrence, and
And
now
then Owen Williams can play there. Max Nagy can
Owen,
play there. But
Owen Williams, asterisk, Max Nagy, asterisk.
it becomes a bit, Tom Florence hasn't played that much URC rugby, so he had to chuck him in the deep end.
No,
It would
and
be
he
a bit
played
of a
wing, Regent on the weekend.
right. Okay, yeah. So he's not got that much experience, so it would be chucking him in the deep end a bit. If we picked up 2 injuries there, it's Fock and a Singer. We're probably putting Owen Williams in there alongside. So you're then taking, someone out. So we did need an extra player to come in because one of the problems last season was simply our starting 15 played too many minutes. And you start to see that in a few of the games at the end of the season, the Leinster and the Bulls game. Those players that have been great all season looked a bit out on their feet by the second half. And you want to reduce those minutes and manage them a bit better, which simply wasn't an option with the squad sizes last year. So be able to bring in a player that can allow, Watkin and Keith to potentially have minutes off, that could be vital. Having Bosch off and Fock and Singer in as your starting centres is not a bad option. In a
No,
way, last year, if neither Watkin or Keith were starting, it felt like a bit of a problem for most of the season.
I still would like to see Keith and Phil though, like a pub tribute band. I want to see Keith and Phil, simply because they were the pre-season.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that form continue. Yes, then your thoughts on Bosch off returning?
Yeah, it's good to have another 13 option. Because it felt like Phil came on at 12 last week and just felt like that was his position for a bit. Of course, he only got 20 minutes, but kind of sense like maybe he might have trialed him at 13 for the start of the season and maybe switched him back into that 12 mold. So it'd be good to have a bit of competition then, not just 2 players going out and out. You got a third option then in Boshoff coming in. So yeah, there's no complaints. He played rather well last season, except for that yellow card he picked up against Leinster, which was
Forgiving him for that.
an interesting cameo appearance from the bench. And yeah, it'd be good to see him back, and provides a bit of depth in a position that we desperately need on.
Yeah. Last season, I'll tell you what, over the last 2 seasons, there has been 1 game when neither Kieran Williams or Owen Watkin was starting in the centre.
Let me think of that game.
We're trying not to leave too much dead air.
Is it Leicester away?
No, I think
No.
Keith came off the bench, I think.
Keith. No, Hawk. I thought
sorry, yeah, Keith played. Keith, yeah. In which neither of them played, sorry.
Oh,
yeah, Keith came off the bench.
Yeah.
Neither of them were in the 23 for only 1 game over the last 2 seasons.
Is it the old... Oh, whichever game where Florence came in the last minute. I can't remember if Keith played or not.
No, I think Watkin was back from injury by then. It was the Sharks away season before last.
Yes, that was Tom Florence came in.
Was it? Oh, was that it? Was that
Didn't he come in for Mikey Collins?
Collins,
about
yeah.
5 minutes to go.
Yeah, it must have been Tian Thomas Wheeler was one of the centers, which I actually think had a good game, I think, from memory.
Yeah, Thomas Wheeler started at 12. Was Tom Florence at 13? Yeah.
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 That's all knowledge, Estin.
Amazing.
Is it a prize?
Yeah. You get to start at 12 next week.
I wouldn't want CM running right after me, but any other centers will be all right.
But like that season before, we had Michael Collins and Joe Hawkins playing there as well. So it kind of just underlined how important those 2 have been. So having an extra center in there, in the mix to, pick up some minutes is important, and is kind of vital. Interesting as well, they don't state it's a loan in the press release. He just says he's rejoined the team.
It is a loan.
Yeah.
Would like to confirm this.
But I think it's more a statement on how they view this like player share with the cheaters, as they're not sending them on loan. Like it's a central pool of players they're pulling from, and he's rejoined. But yeah, it's a very positive mood. I thought he was, that Leinster game aside, universally great last season.
Yeah, Munster at home is quite good. He's got good hands. He's got a nice
Ulster,
short kicking
great
game. Dynamic, weird, and really nice guy. But unfortunately, we are going to have to send him back because Evil Dread, not sure Dread is good anyway. In the comment section on BBC Sport.
Oh no.
There are plenty of good, capable centres playing club rugby in Wales. Yet Ospreys go to South Africa. No wonder we are not developing enough young talent in Wales. So I'm sorry, Avadi, you're going to have to go home because Evil Dread said so.
And he can't even play a game. He has to go home this month.
No, he has to go home. He's not even in the country yet, but he has to go home. So yeah, that's how the rugby public are taking this.
That's why I haven't opened Facebook today.
I think, to be honest, the Facebook stuff's been largely positive. He was a very popular player.
But then if you delve into BBC Sport comment sections and
there's only two, and the other person's really confused because they say you sign a South Africa winger on a permanent basis, yet Combiot only has a short-term deal. Why? This is about Avadi Boshoff, Jeff. You're clearly confused.
Just hate the disclosure of people complaining about foreign signing. If I could just write a few words on this, just get out there.
If you ever want to feel better about yourself, go to the Wales Online comment section. That's where the real...
I've experienced that.
Have you?
Yeah, I've experienced a piece where I had a few comments on there, on the Facebook page, not the actual...
Oh, Ben_James and Steph_Thomas.
But no, I'm pretty sure my dad occasionally does read them. For a laugh more than anything. Because he comes back to me and he says, I always scroll down to the comments and someone said this, and he just says he's just absolutely wrong with a few bleeps in the middle of it. But yeah, I don't think I ever had a piece which had comments in it.
My dad might be the one writing them though, for all I know. That's where he's gone, to leave comments on Wales Online.
It's like something out of like a cryptic, detective film where they have to decipher the serial killer's code from the Wales Online
Zodiac
section.
Yeah. Oh god, that'd be even worse if instead of like death threats, they're leaving comments about bloody Avadi Boshoff.
Yeah, it's the Riddler from the Batman, but he's actually a rugby dog.
The Scarlets shouldn't have signed so many non-Welsh qualified props. They should have just gone eaten alive at every scrum all season. Which actually I'd be okay with. I think they should have done that.
You know what? I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Avadi Boshoff. That is the only piece of news this week, which is pretty standard for the start of the season. Swansea University have kicked off their season. They're currently playing Cardiff Met at home, which is Cardiff Met will be up there at the end of the season. It is 29-12 to Met. Lance Bradley is there. So yeah, good luck to them boys. Theo Curry, current Ospreys wider squad academy player, is in there. Right, gents, we've ignored it long enough. Let's talk about it. Dragons away. Dragons in the 84th minute, winning 24-21. You were both there, so I'm going to let you two take the lead.
I'll go first as the game actually ended 23-21. I don't know if...
23-21.
Yeah, there's only a 2 points difference, which would have been the difference of us being 11th or 12th, actually, with how closely our C fixtures were this weekend. But The press box experience was good. I'll give them that.
Hmm.
It was good fun at the top of the stand, sat near halfway, which wasn't that bad. Um, and the game of rugby kicked off, and the Dragons won. That's all you've really got to say. And it was rather typical fashioned on previous meetings, which games have gone down to the last minute or so, where all of a sudden you think the Ospreys look really comfortable and rather settled with about 20 minutes to go, and then all of a sudden the Dragons get a score or something happens where you don't really think much of it. And then in the last minute, something really big happens which swings the game. If you look at, I want to say 2017, 18 or 18, 19, that
Hmm.
season where Tibrick and Cracknell combined for a score,
Hmm.
you thought that's a bit of a close game. And then all of a sudden, Dragons went on and scored in the last minute. You look at 2019-20, that game where the Ospreys had got absolutely blown out the water by the Scarlets the week before. They turned up to Rodney Parade, leaded about 20, 10 minutes ago, then give away 2 tries, and the Dragons win the game in the last minute. So it's a reoccurring theme that is seemingly just infectious to Rodney Parade in this derby. But all you can say is that the Dragons deserved it more in that last few moments, and to go 25 phases without keeping discipline on, and they kept their heads, which is probably something that maybe Dragon supporters probably would have asked for in over
Hmm.
recent years. From an Ospreys perspective, it's obviously really disappointing to lose that game right to the death, and obviously questions of game management will be asked. And but then again, they went 25 phases at the end of the match. They didn't give away a penalty, so and there was some very inexperienced players coming off the bench. Theodore Scott, that was his first professional game of rugby. Who would want that to happen at Rodney Parade in that derby is what I'd say. But there's encouragement, but to lose that right to the death must be a kick in the teeth for the Ospreys. But there's nothing to be taken away from that Dragons performance.
Yeah, yeah, I think similar note. It's a really frustrating game because we should have won it, and it seemed unthinkable that the Dragons would win on 76 minutes, and then they put together an excellent 4 minutes and win the game. Because for the first 74, we were, and I think I spoke to a few Dragons fans after the game, and pretty much universally agreed, including Jamie Phillips of a very similar parish to this. It's rugby values really. Like, you don't get this in other sports. You don't get fans going and having drinks with fans in other sports.
Values.
But just top values, top values. But what we did see, yeah, was the Ospreys pretty much dominate the game, pretty much be the better team throughout, and not score points and not take those points. And last season, I think we were second for converting our chances. However, that first game of the season, we looked incredibly rusty. First 2 games of the season, and then we eventually worked into that being the case. And you worry that's almost hit too hard again this year. Um, it was a huge issue. There's a long period in the first half. We had a succession of mauls, and we looked set to score. The Dragons are giving penalty after penalty. Then eventually, one collapses. They clear from the scrum quite cleanly, and that's that. And there were a few chances, a few breaks in the second half. Karen Williams got held up. There was another break where Jack Walsh put in a kick that perhaps wasn't on, and we just kind of felt the pressure not quite coming through. And I think if we were playing a lot of other teams, maybe we would have kicked some of the penalties we had available. And instead it became, looking for the bonus point. And maybe it's too early in the season to be thinking of 5 instead of securing the 4. And I don't blame them at all for looking for that. We're looking to be a top 8 team, and sometimes you need to take gambles for that. But a lot of those gambles didn't pay off, and they didn't backfire until the last 3 minutes when, the Dragons kick a penalty to get within losing bonus point range, only for that one scrum to fall apart. As I said, the player, the artist formerly known as Matt, um, who had, I think, an up and down debut. But ultimately, right, he is a prop playing his first game of professional rugby, and he's up against seasoned professionals who've played, 50 plus games.
It's one of the worst to be up against. We said this on the chat, is Rodri Jones.
Yeah.
Fantastic technical scrummager.
And you're looking at a Wales international who has played, what, like 80 odd games for the Ospreys, 30 odd for the Scarlets before that, 30 odd for the Dragons since, 20 odd caps, right? It's been around for a long time. And suddenly, yeah, you find yourself up against that, having having never played at this level before. So you kind of can't blame him. And then, yeah, the composure of the Dragons to see it through. There were so many chances we should have won it. I think Jack Walsh is absolutely fantastic, but I think there were two game management errors in the final few minutes that were quite frustrating. Most notably, the Dragons missing touch from that penalty and him having, I think, 12 seconds on the clock and kicking it out before time when he easily could have, stopped, waited, even taken a phase, perhaps taken, look to wind the clock down. And then there was a couple of, the little kicks he put in and so on in the opposition half that perhaps weren't on and perhaps like looking after the ball a bit better. But broadly, I thought this was one of his best games for the Ospreys in a long time. And you don't want, I'm quite glad that two errors haven't overshadowed things, but it shows there are areas of development throughout the team. And I thought broadly a good performance that showed us in quite a helpful way, I think, actually, having had time to reflect on it, the areas in our game that need improvement and kind of woke us up to that, whilst also giving us one more point that we had in this fixture last year when we did manage to make the top 8.
Where to begin? Let's talk. I'll talk positives first. I'm going to talk positives. I thought generally we went around the park pretty well. We scored 2 good tries. I liked the tries we scored. I really like the Keith try because it sort of does what I've been wanting. A lot of what people have been asking to do is to vary up what we do off first phase. A lot of that, we ran that move probably 60% of the time, I'd say, where you come down, you've got the Peel, Dewi Lake, or Jack Morgan, whoever will, and then we'll play a flat ball to someone running a line. And usually that person is the centre, in our case, Keith. And you can see Brody Coughlin trailing to go make that tackle and Lloyd Evans shoot out because in his mind, he's identified, right, I know this ball's coming to Keith. And Luke Morgan runs a lovely line. He is a really underrated part of his game, actually, his ability to run lines like that and take that ball, give a simple ball to Keith then to go under. Like that, they're the things that kill us. So you think back to Connacht away last year.
Yeah.
That killed us. The Bradley
Edinburgh.
Roberts try at Rodney Parade last year is similar things to that. So the fact that we're utilising that. And the Jack Walsh offload to Combier comes from the multi-receiver game that we're trying to play. And that comes from great step. He sort of put Joe Westwood in a bit of a blender for a couple of times that game, who had a great game in himself. So I thought that was good. I thought while I don't think the balance of the back row worked, I thought all 3 back rows had individually brilliant games. Like that Tipperick tackle.
Oh, mate.
Oh.
Yes. The highlight of the game for me.
Yeah.
And I remember as that break was coming, my eyes being on Tipperick around the ruck.
Yeah.
And then seeing the space out there and thinking, right, okay, he's got a lot of distance to cover up. Then when he comes in and absolutely melts his man, just like made me realize how much I'm going to miss him. Not that I haven't been thinking about this every moment of the last few weeks.
A lot of Dragons fans actually online saying, "Oh, he was rattled. He was rattled by the fans or something." No, he was just frustrated that his team were making mistakes. Like, come on now, lads. Like, he's been to Rodney Parade enough. Yeah. He's been around the block. I don't think he's rattled by some blokes from Blaenau Gwent. No offense.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. Like, I'll give you Dewi Lake, right? I'll give you Dewi Lake, but come on now. Justin Tipperick's not rattled by some blokes from Abercarn. But that tackle where if you are a coach, right, and you want to coach your players about scramble defense, look at what Justin Tipperick does. I don't think he once looks at the ball. Instead, he picks out a spot where he's going to intercept whoever it was. And it's just perfect. That perfect example of chasing the space. So I absolutely loved it. I thought Morgan Morris had a quietly good game.
Mm.
Um, he was our second best carrier, 51 meters. You know, obviously Jack Walsh being our first.
I think it was a really like valuable game for Morgan Morris's international chances, which we were all incredibly invested in because he was very good without doing the usual Morgan Morris things.
Mm.
I think we expect certain kinds of carries and popping up at the end of things 5 meters out and bits of handling. And he didn't have those chances, but he was still impactful throughout the entire game.
I thought for only having two training sessions, Adam Beard was very good.
Agreed, agreed. I thought he was superb.
He
Um,
put himself about a lot.
yeah.
Um, thought he marked
Also,
the line out really well.
a great bit of trivia for you. This is the first time Toby Booth, his entire era, has ever brought Adam Beard off in their fifth season together. He's played 80 in every moat game he started for the Ospreys up until now.
except for
Uh,
the bench appearances, of course, the ones
Yeah,
that
yeah.
came off the bench. He also produced one of the cleanest lineup steals I think I've ever seen. Um,
Yes, he did.
that was very, very nice. They just lifted him up and then he just took it out and with basically no. It looked like it was Osprey's possession, but it wasn't because there was a Dragon's lift. But yeah, Beer just clenched that one out in the air, like it was nothing. And off two training sessions, I think he made 12 tackles. You can
Yeah.
kind of see the effect on him that it had throughout the game. Before half time, I think Duncan Jones was trying to rally up his troops before that defensive set before the break, and Beard was one of the players he mentioned, and it was good to see him get that hour, but it was also good to see him come off the field after that hour because I
mm,
think if he'd have stayed on for 80 minutes, that'd have been quite tiring, especially with the Euro rugby that's coming up for him. So
Mm.
yeah.
giving him game time might be the odd occasion where he doesn't play at all. Maybe he doesn't get a chance in the 23. So yeah, it could be a really good season for him if he continues on that good form.
So I think you guys have said it best, right? There's a lot to take from that game for me.
Mm,
And, it's been done to death now where you can say that we dominated for 70 minutes, we were comfortable, we did all this, right? And ultimately you don't remember 70 minutes of winning, you remember the 10 minutes that you lost the game.
mm,
Which, fine for the general public looking inwards. Yeah, brilliant. Let them think that. That's fine. Dragons did well to come back in that game. And I said this on Rap actually. It's really nice for once just to lose a game, not there be some bullshit referee decision or something contentious
mm,
that we come on here and we're like, oh, I thought Ben Breakspear was very good.
yeah.
Um, so, Dragons just got back into it due to poor game management. It wasn't down to something contentious that I'm going to come here and whinge about.
I think the other thing to note is this obviously being the start of the season. I was just listening to the Scrum 5 pod shortly before we started up here, and Gareth Rhys Owen asked the very fair question of, is this being the start of the season a difficult thing for the Ospreys to overcome from here? Is this going to be a bit of a body blow? Is there going to be a problem with the season from here? And I really don't think that's the case. You look at last season, where obviously they started Connacht, they were, what was it, 21-0 down after half an hour, and then 28, then the bonus point comes shortly after half time. And they've typically, last few seasons, and then the season before, it was a draw with the Scarlets, where they perhaps should have won that. And then, the next few games, they, what, struggled to win games. There was a lot of kind of draws and slipping up, and the Connacht and Lions games that should have been won at home. And they then managed to pull something out the bag with those seasons, and particularly last year where they did end up in the top 8. But really, that momentum started with the second game onwards. And what we saw was them get 1 point more than they did last season at Rodney Parade in the same fixture, where, it was that horrible game that ended with a 4-0 result to the Dragons. And I do think you can really build something from there. And I think it's a useful game in as much as it told you an awful lot about what's wrong with this team and what needs to be fixed going into the season.
Yeah, my only concern for the Ospreys is that it could easily switch into that season, similar to the one where they
Yeah,
started off with the draw
yeah,
against Scarlets, especially with the run of fixtures coming up. Stormers, Ulster, Munster, Bulls, just a name for them. And yeah, it could easily turn out to that. But like you said, that Connacht game at the start of last season where it
Hmm.
was something like 26-7, 26-5 at half time or something like that.
Yeah.
You thought it was going to be a really long day at the office, and the Ospreys clawed back, got a bonus point. Obviously, the situation from last season to this season are two very contrasting feelings because of the way that the game at Rodney Parade ended. But
Hmm.
that's my only concern is that it could easily derail into that season where it could be some very, very narrow losses, and then things don't really get going until December time where Europe kicks off.
I think that's it. I think the Stormers game now to me feels critical. It feels like for URC chances, it has become a must win. And suddenly, if we win that, we're in a pretty solid position where if you kind of compare how we did last year versus how we did this year, the points we need to pick up, where we need to pick them up. We've also, the other thing about the league, right, is it took 50 points to get into the playoffs last year. It's typically been about 58 or 48, 49. I think that might be lower this year because I think the teams that are at the bottom of the table, the bottom three being Zebra, Dragons, and Scarlets, are all going to be much better and all going to pick up more wins over the teams in the middle. So that number may drop to high 40s. And I think we have every chance if we can beat the Stormers here and then carry some of that momentum perhaps into getting a bonus point in one of those two games away in Ireland, Ulster and Munster. You can then potentially take 6-7 points from those first three games of the season as a real result from which you can build, considering we have got a lot of the most difficult games out the way early on. And you then, if you're in a reasonable mid-table position, having perhaps beaten the Stormers and the Bulls, who, again, the Stormers, as we'll get onto, don't have most of the Springboks traveling over. The Bulls quite possibly won't either, because it's in an awkward part of the season. So we'll see. We'll see how these things land. But yeah, playing weakened teams, and again, the Irish teams have also got the emerging Ireland tour as well, so they might be missing a few players alongside. There are chances to pick up points. I think a lot's been made of this start of the season being the most difficult teams, but I think we're playing most of them, maybe aside from Munster, at the most ideal times to be playing them.
Mm. Let's talk about the Stormers then. Let's go on to the traveling squads. They released a touring squad today. So, I won't go through everyone, but notable names. You got Brock Harris, Dave Ewers, JD Schickerlin, JJ Coetzee, Joseph De Weber, Ruben Van Heerden, Sandy, Sissoli. Going to the backs are pretty stacked. You've got Angelo Davids, Damien Valenza, Dan Duplessis, Jean-Luc Duplessis, Leon Zas, Paul de Vet, Ruben Nell, Suleiman Hutzenberg, Vandelisa Similani, Warwick Gallant. It's beatable. It is very beatable in the sense that it's not the Stormers A team. And actually, about an hour ago, they released a video of we scored some great tries against the Ospreys, over the 4 years, whatever it is, and 90% of them are Manny Lebok doing something, which says that, Manny is vital in how they play. Clearly the pack is weakened. There's no Evan Roos in there. You've got Dave Ewers is not the player he once was. Brock Harris, while still is Brock Harris, he's 39.
Their normal starting parts with Stephen Kitchup and Franz Maherba.
Yeah.
And so the step down from possibly the two best props in the world to still, very good player. But as I say, Brock Harris is about 46. And then again, they've got a bunch of. The thing is, it's a much stronger team than I expected when I went, the Springboks playing on the same day. All the best players will be missing. And the Boks have released Ben Jason Dixon back, but it looks like he isn't traveling.
No, you can't imagine he'd travel from, where is he, Argentina at the minute?
Yeah. It's a hell of a journey to go from Argentina back to South Africa and then on to Wales in a
It,
week.
it'll be really interesting who plays for the Stormers because yes, and I'm right saying like Willems is coming back from injury.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think there was some sort of Instagram post they just kind of returning back from injury. So it could be the case that I am speaking hypothetically. I'm not sure what his injury record is. That he could be there just to train with the squad, like the Ospreys did last season with Jack Morgan and Derry Lake.
yeah,
So it could be one of them because they've got a free game tour. They're playing Edinburgh and Zebra over the next few weeks as well. But it could be the case that he is back to playing. Obviously, you've got someone like Dan Duplessis as well, who's quite a tidy centre, as everyone saw last year. But if they could pull if they could field that back line that some of the players you mentioned there, have Gillant on the field, who is a very tidy operator
mm,
despite wherever his top 14 stint was with Racing, it is a bit threatening.
Hmm.
But it'd be interesting to see the difference, I suppose. Okay, professional rugby, you should be, used to all sorts of grounds and weather, like the difference between the DHL stadium in Cape Town to the brewery field on I don't know what the weather is, but it could be damp. It could be a damp Saturday night
Hmm.
in the brewery field. There's a bit of a contrast there for some
mm.
players like that. So yeah, it'd be quite interesting to see how they approach that game. What their selection is. Do they put Williamson back in? I assume Galan will be a fullback. Uh,
Well,
this is their first game of the season as well, so they might
So
not be fully prepared.
yeah, that's it.
I
That's the other thing is this is the first game of the season. Valemsa had injured his finger ligaments and was out for 4 months. So he hasn't played since tail end of missed the end of the URC season as well as the Ireland tour. But he has been able to run and keep fit. So,
mm,
it maybe we see him start rather than on the bench. But yeah, this feels like a perfect game to be in Bridgend. This is a ideal game. You kind of want to get amongst them a bit, and that allows you to do that.
I didn't realize Devault Duvenage was still a thing.
Yeah, he sneakily joined them. I read
Yeah,
in.
he
Yeah, good
he was an
player.
assistant coach at Benetton while playing last year.
Mm. Oh
Um,
yeah,
because I saw that name, I was like, hang on a
yeah.
minute, he's been around the block a bit.
He's kind of like the nowadays Sol Pretorius in a way, who is kind of
Yeah,
Yeah.
gone away from South Africa and now gone back.
because yeah, he was at Benetton from 2018. He 97 appearances.
But he's a really sneaky good signing for them during periods like this where they're missing their star players.
Big Brendan Leonard vibes.
Yeah, no, but I think he's kind of got the vibe of like Pound Shop Ruin Pinar, Like I think
Ran
there's that
shot,
kind of
ran
like
shot, ruined Peanut.
Pound Shop, yeah, where he's a superb player who can win you a game. And
Mm.
maybe he's not like an all-star, or even a player he was for Benetton a few years ago. But I don't know, man. He's a name I'd be nervous to see on a team sheet.
He's a perfect backup to Paul de Vet, isn't he?
Yeah.
So going through like what I predict the starting lineup to
Mm.
be, and this is coming from Stormers fans. I'm sort of like you looking at Satoli, Dweber, Neithling, Ruben van Heerd, and JD Schicklin. That's not bad.
No.
Marcel, is that Marcel Coetzee, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Dave Ewers and Marabe at 8.
Oh, Coetzee
Uh,
isn't in the traveling squad.
no, who am I looking at? Sorry.
I thought
Marcel,
he played for the Bulls unless he was.
Marcel Finucane.
Ah,
Um, I got confused there. Then the backs
no,
of the
you're right. Yeah, he's in the Bulls.
Paul de Vet, Damien Valenza at 10.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
probably looking at
Yeah.
Willem Zaas, Dan Duplessis, Nel, Hartzenberg, and Galant at
It's a
15.
bloody good team, isn't
That's a
it?
good
Solid,
back
isn't
four.
it?
I am, Lineouts will be fine because Dweber's thrown in. And I genuinely think I could have a better line-out percentage completion rate than
Well, I
Joseph.
just want to congratulate Joe Dwyer on 100% line-out accuracy. Tied in man of the match on the weekend.
Yeah. It is winnable though.
Yeah.
I do think it's 100% winnable. It's their first game of the season. They've not had competitive preseason games in the sense that they don't go to like Exeter away or they don't go to like Saracens. They used to. They don't anymore. Um, their forwards are definitely more beatable than the backs, is the vibe you're getting.
Hmm.
Should we have a go at doing our squad?
Yeah. I mean, so for reference, the Storm's preseason games were against Southwest District and the South Sea Sharks. So again, as you say, they've played teams a couple of levels down. It's like if we just played the Origin series and the lead in.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen.
Oh,
We've never done this before,
Modern technology.
and it's defeated me already.
Uh-oh.
Where's the share screen button?
this is great audio listening.
Great audio. There it is.
If I were an audio listener, which I maybe in the future would personally love to be hearing the blank noises as James tries to share his screen.
There we go.
And he achieves it. Finally,
can you see my
suddenly,
screen?
out of nowhere. That is an Excel document. And I am painting a picture with my words
Right.
that I believe people are loving
For
right
audio
now.
listeners like me, right? Because I'm exclusively an audio listener. I've got an Excel sheet up. It's literally my notes that I've been writing as we're doing. And we're going to do our predicted squad.
Okay.
So let's start at loose head.
My brain just wanted to say Nicky Smith, and I'm sad all over again.
Is it Gareth Thomas?
I think it's got to be Gartom. I did Love of Rugby last week. And off air, Dan Cole was telling me what a lovely man Nicky Smith is and how he couldn't believe the Ospreys let him go. And I was like, no, we very much didn't. This very much wasn't our choice.
Yeah.
We wanted him to stay.
He scrummed extra off the park as well.
Yeah, of course he did. Standard.
So I'm guessing it's Gareth Thomas, yeah?
Yeah, Gartom, loose heads.
Hooker.
I thought it a good game again, as usual.
Yeah, I thought he
Dewi.
had a good game as well. Dewi.
They're going to bring a big pack, so we're going to have to be, I think, confrontational.
So I think that I'm guessing he's not injured.
Oh yeah, no. Sabota limped off, didn't he? He was holding his arm as he went off.
He looked like he held on something to his rib when he was walking off.
You're right. Yeah, his rib.
I'm going to put Tom Bota and cross my fingers.
Yeah, for the audio listeners out there, James Wright is team seats from 1 to 8, then 9 to 15 instead of the other way around. So, yeah.
My brain doesn't work like yours, yes, right. And that's fine. Right, locks. Beard and Ratty.
I'm having Beard in there, but I think with just availability, I think you might have to stick Ratty in there as well.
Yeah.
Whisper it quietly. Osprey's released some training pictures while we're off air. Ben Warren's training.
Okay. He said he wanted to be back sooner than the 3 weeks.
And there's also a certain winger training as well. Not that he's full fitness, but there's a winger training for later.
Who could it possibly be? Ravs Maxwane? Are we signed Ravs Maxwane?
It could be anyone on that list. It could be
Shane?
Come on, Shane. Right, so are we saying Ratty? Bulked up Ratty. Looked a lot.
Yeah.
Ratty, but I wouldn't scoff at Hugh Owen Sutton.
Yeah.
As is his government name, I found out. 6.
This is where I was thinking of putting Ratty, but I've chucked him in the row.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind that, actually. I don't mind, Ratty in at 6 and putting Sutton in the row. Sutton was so good against the Stormers last time out in the DHL Stadium, to give it its full name, give it its government name. And so Ratty at 6.
Morgan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it sort of has to be, doesn't it?
Or do we put Jack at 8 and Tips at 7? It was an interesting thing in the Jack Morgan interview last week, him saying that one of the things that drew him to Toby Booth as a coach was the fact they agreed on viewing the back row as one position rather than 3. They view them as kind of interchangeable rather than as 3 distinct specialized positions. And I think that does kind of show quite often.
Yeah, you'll
Pretty
often
expected.
see Tipuric back down at 8
Yeah.
the last couple of
Yeah.
years. But
Booth being a former back row himself.
I don't know. I don't know.
There's too many very good open sides.
Yeah.
Mm.
Will he drop Morris? I don't think he will.
Impact
Because
player, don't they?
if you drop Morris, he doesn't go onto the bench.
Do you think? Why not?
Yeah. Because you put Tipuric on the bench.
Oh, I was thinking you start Tipuric. Start Tips at 7 and Jack
Would
Morgan at 8. No, I'll go with this. I'll go with Morgan and Tips on the bench. Yeah.
I just don't think that. I think Tipuric offers you more off the bench in terms of game management
Yeah.
than Morgan Morris does.
I just think of how good Morgan Morris was at Worcester off the bench and Montpellier off the bench at home.
I think, yeah, as a young, hungry upstart,
But
that was
this was season before last now, the Leicester and Montpellier, he was superb off the bench. But yeah, and I think it's a role he's very good at that we haven't seen utilized fully. Which is, I don't think he'd complain about at all. I think he'd be quite happy to be starting.
As a caveat, this is
yeah,
the team
I'll go. I'm happy with that.
This is the team that we
Sure.
want, not necessarily what Booth will pick. I think Booth won't change the back row.
Yes, yeah, I'm happy with Ratty, Jack, and Morgan.
But if that was the
Morgan,
I think it offers a line out. It's a very line out based team.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind. Right. Ruben.
Yeah.
You don't start Davis.
No.
I don't think Davis. I think Davis was fine.
Tell Ruben to keep his mouth guard in his mouth.
Oh my
this
God.
time.
That was quite funny.
Comedy.
For anyone that didn't see it, Ruben Morgan Williams got HIA'd because he put his mouth guard in his sock and it registered. I think he kicked the ball and it registered that as a massive collision. Yeah, it registered a box kick as a massive collision on his head.
So I don't know if you picked it up on if you've watched the game back. When the physio comes on to say you're having a HIA, he shits himself and then goes into his sock and realizes his gum shield is in.
That might be. I don't know. I'm no expert in HIA tests, but that could be like the first one which has been passed by like 100%.
It didn't come on for ages. This was the thing.
Yeah. It took a while for it to happen, though.
Because I think it's 9 minutes or something like that, and it's something like that before you can come back.
And I think there was a long passage of play when he was standing. Yeah, to come back on.
There was a long period of him standing by the corner flag, just in full kit, before eventually jogging over to the subs and going like, right, back on I go.
Or the quickest HIA test, actually. It could have been that easy.
Right. 10.
Dan Edwards, again. I think we discussed this last week. He is almost definitely the current first choice, and you want to back your 10. You want to give him a chance to establish himself in that shirt. Because last season he probably finishes just about first choice. And you want him a chance to, make that shirt his own.
I'll go into centres first.
Okay.
What are we thinking?
Keith and Phil? Keith and Big Phil?
I think Keith definitely starts at 12, regardless. 13's a big call for me.
Yeah.
Because realistically, he's going up against Dan Duplessis and who do we say? Hartzenberg?
Yeah, Hartzenberg, Willemse potentially. No, you're right. You're right. Slimane as well.
Nell.
Potentially Nell. So no, you're right.
Like Dan Duplessis, Ruben,
it's got to be Watkin, hasn't it?
I think Watkin.
When you stop and think this game is potentially a must-win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Owen Watkins suddenly slides in as a necessity.
But if Phil Cockensinger played, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm just thinking about getting some game time early season.
Yeah.
Because he got 20 minutes at the weekend. He looked perfectly good. But let's see what he can do a bit. And let him bed into the shirt and bed in combinations.
Let's go into wings then. So on the left.
Ryan Combe, keeping the shirt, I think, was very good at the weekend. kick chase really well as taking his try incredibly well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I don't think Luke Morgan did anything wrong.
I don't
No,
think
Like,
completely
so.
agrees.
like scoring against the Stormers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, scored a brace last season.
Did score a brace. I mean, it was the easiest brace he's ever scored in his life, but he did still score one. And then 15, interesting one.
Yeah. I think you continue with Jack Walsh there, especially what they're saying about wanting to move to a dual playmaker system.
Mm.
And Watkin can do that a little bit. Keith is not that player, as we've seen a few times. You think of
No,
the Munster intercept try and stuff. And he's not best used as that, and you're kind of weakening two positions by forcing him to play a game other than his own. And I don't think Max Nagy's that, even though he played 10 as a schoolboy in the kind of Northampton system. But I think for what we're clearly looking to do in attack this season, Jack Walsh feels like the natural fullback.
mm, I'm not going to argue. I think if they put Nagy in, I wouldn't mind. I
Mm.
think with our Stormers realistically going to tighten their game up.
Depends on the weather as well.
This is the thing. Like I don't think I've seen Stormers play a tight game before. Even at that 16-all monsoon draw, they were still checking it about. We saw when we beat them last year, they were open at all times. So,
But that was with Lebok at 10.
that
And
was
they're
with
missing both Lebok and Van and Gazulu, who are their two kind of primary Jouet men. It looks like the weather's going to be dry at the weekend as well, so we'll see.
only very boggy then. Right. Bench.
Hmm.
So I think prop, let's go Steph
Yep.
Thomas, the journalist, who I thought did well, actually. I thought when he scrummed with Bota, they put them backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that one scrum in there where they were both on at the same time, and it was a really dominant push, and they eked out a penalty out of it.
Are we saying math? Is it Y or I?
Aye.
Aye.
It is I. Yo with Scott or Ben Warren, but it's more
Yeah.
likely to be math.
I imagine if Ben Warren's just back in training, you probably
Yeah.
want to give him a week to get up to speed before
Yeah,
putting him into play. If he's fit enough to play,
you
Ben
put
Warren
Ben
absolutely
Warren
in. Yeah.
who actually did very well against the Stormers last time.
Yeah.
Hooker, if he's fit, I think Sam Perry.
Yeah. I wouldn't argue.
I think if he's fit, he should come back in for that.
The fact that he wasn't there Saturday makes me think Lewis Lloyd. But I'm going to put Sam Perry. Man, that's not to say Lewis Lloyd did anything wrong. It's more you want that experience coming off the bench in a game like this.
I am happy with any of our free hooker options. I think they're mostly good. Or four, I think Ethan Lewis is a good player as well.
Custom slice in.
Yeah. I think it's a position we've got the most comfortable depth.
Because of what we've picked, we have to put Lewis Jones.
Yeah.
So I am quickly, and this is nothing against you, Lewis. I'm changing that to Morgan, that to Tipperick, and keeping that as Morris because I'd rather Sutton come off the bench. That's not on Lewis Jones.
That's so cruel. They're so cruel. You even spelled Justin Tipperick's name wrong.
I came up as Tom Bota. I don't want to see that now. I'm sorry, I can't. Not Lewis Jones. Not this early. Well, when's Will Greatbanks alive?
Yeah.
I'm going to manifest Will Greatbanks.
Yeah, so Ratty moving into the second row.
Sutton's been robbed of a starting place for that.
I know. Cruel. This is like when I was in like under 15s and I got put on the bench because we had 16 players And I would have started, but I was bigger than the scrum half, who was the other player there. There were other players potentially on the bench, and they had to give one of the shirts to a forward, and they couldn't fit into my shirt. So they had to take my shirt off me in order for me to be on the bench. I told that extremely badly, but there we are. So
No, I relate to that heavily. Um,
so you've put Deves in. I think this might be a Morgan Morse game. You
I
know,
was just
Bridgend getting playing on that field. Um, I think it might be a game where you want that kind of dynamism late on.
yeah, but it's also Harry Deeves on his home turf, and he loves playing on
Oh, he loves
grass.
playing on grass. Yeah.
Also,
The
he did
thing
a
is,
fantastic interview in the week. I don't know if you've read it.
no.
He did a great rugby pass interview where he basically talked about how well it sort of talked about how working class he is essentially, and the fact that while he was an academy player, he was doing roofing and plastering to make ends meet. And you're just like, well, I would run through a brick wall for you, Harry Deeves, my working class hero. But I actually think you're right. I mean, we're going to look like knobs when he's playing against Bridgend on Saturday at St. Helens.
But look,
Yes,
it's
Tim.
the
Has he
man of the
told you
match.
anything?
I haven't spoken to anyone over the last couple of days, so I do not know.
It's the man of the match in the last two times we're in Bridgend. So, like, it's not a bad choice to have here between
No,
Deavesy
it's
and
true.
Morse.
Are we saying Luke Davis, backup scrum half, because Hardy won't be available till October. Am I see now? I'm leaning
Mm.
towards this
Bear in
William
mind, this is an audio
and Cochran and
podcast.
Singer.
Yes, I'd agree with you. I would agree. I think Owen Williams is a secure blanket on the bench. Um, I think that moving Walsh into 10 at the weekend weakened two positions. I think, we lost what he was bringing at fullback. And also, I thought Dan Edwards was controlling things nicely and probably would have been better for closing out that game because that's more his natural way of playing than Walsh's, where Walsh was naturally going for the bonus point. I think Edwards might have sensed the way the wind was blowing and locked us down a bit. So yeah, I think having Owen Williams as an option, I would do that.
Yeah, I just think that looks right because I think if you're in control come 70 minutes, you sort of can stay with your 10 and 15.
Mm.
Whereas if you're need or you can I happily bring Owen Williams on then to close that out. But then actually if you're chasing a game, you don't need to in a way. Because
Mm.
Owen Williams is not the player you bring on when you're chasing a game.
Yeah,
So yeah, and he's got a big boot on him. It's probably gonna be very similar conditions to when we played Sale.
yeah. I
Uh
guess the question is, I guess Combe becomes fullback cover. He's played there a couple of times, I guess.
I suppose
That's not ideal, is it? You
it's
want,
not this is where Nagy's
yeah.
in that case you take
Mm.
out Williams, you go Phil there, and you put Nagy.
I don't know. I think I'd keep Owen Williams and I'd maybe put Nagy in for fucking a singer. But I get it whatever way around. You trust Booth's judgment, don't you?
You do, and it all depends. Like the game plan, you could see, and we said this
Mm.
very early on that when the team sheets came out, we said this on our chat. Like that's a kick heavy game.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Um, and will we employ that same tactic? Who knows?
Mm.
This is a team I think we're going to go for. So we got standard front row: Gareth Thomas, Dewi Lake, Tom Boter,
Yep.
Beard and Ratty. Could be Hugh Sutton, Morgan, Tibrick, Morris. So an unchanged pack, really.
Yeah.
I think it's an unchanged squad, actually. I don't think you touched
Yeah,
this.
we've talked an awful lot to name the
But you
safety.
don't
With
like
one change on the bench,
with
two changes
one
on the
change,
bench.
two change. I don't think you change the squad. I think you just
Yeah.
change the mindset of the squad,
Mm.
and that's a good thing.
So what's that mindset?
Take your chances.
Mm.
Be efficient in the red zone, which is what we were. We were the most efficient team in 22 last year.
Yeah.
Every time we went to 22, or nearly every time, we came away with something.
Well, and I think a lot of what went wrong at the weekend was tiny moments of detail. You know, we got
Yeah.
within the 5 meter line a few times, and it is little things like the Dragons winning try, right? There is a moment before Yendel makes the kind of bust for the line. One of the Dragon players, I forget who it is, kind of flies off and takes out an Ospreys player, and just
It
lying
was
in the way and
Dan
opens it up.
Lydiard.
Is it Lydiot? Of course, it's Dan
Yeah.
Lydiot. But it's just little things like that that we've been good at in past in terms of creating those openings, getting players in the way, elling in and creating that space that perhaps weren't there. And it probably takes a bit of a bollocking and going, okay, no, we need to fix this and have a look at this and making sure we get the ball out the mall if it isn't clean, and we allow ourselves to keep playing. And I think, yeah, everything was fixable. Everything was quite small. And you then go from there.
So I'm stopping sharing my screen. So yeah, I think the mindset changes. I actually think we're in a pretty similar situation to Cardiff
Mm.
in that I know Cardiff came away with 5 points, but they didn't play well at all. And they did what we did on a bigger scale in letting a team objectively worse than us get back into it.
Yeah.
So you change the mindset of, right, we don't take the foot off our throat. Do you sacrifice getting bonus points to just winning? Which I actually think you do in a game like this. I'd rather have the 4 than
Yeah.
come away with 1 or 2
Yeah, of course.
any day.
But yeah, this is a game where I think winning matters more than anything else. It is a game for kicking the points. I thought Dan Edwards kicked really well as well. Like watching him in the warm up, he was knocking over penalties from halfway, which was
He
really
bulked up as
promising.
well.
A little bit, yeah, he seems to have. Yeah, and his kicking range has improved enormously, which was one of those things when he first came through. He was kicking like someone who kicks at semi-professional or amateur level. You're getting kind of 30 meters on kicks, and to see him, yeah, knocking over a penalty in the warm-up from his own half was promising. Was very much like, okay, he's adding this. This is coming along nicely. Project Dan Edwards has gone very far in the space of less than a year.
I
So
would like
where
him
can
to
it go in
kick
a year?
further to touch though.
We'll see. Yeah.
That was, and it's not like that was a bad Dan Edwards trait. Like I remember Judgment Day last year, he was banging them
Yeah.
like 40, 50 meters downfield off penalties.
There was one
Like,
against Ulster, which he sent sort of 50
yeah.
odd meters.
So yeah, that's where I think we'll be Saturday. So Andrew Brace refereeing us,
Yeah.
who someone described on Twitter as the best ref in the URC, and I said last night being the kindest serial killer.
Refed us in Cape Town last season.
Did ref us in Cape Town.
Well, the thing about Andrew Brace, though, is traditionally, and there's every chance he's listening to this and just has to change his mind, and I really hope that isn't the case, but Brace has traditionally favoured how we scrummage more games than not, as I recall, which could be useful against another big pack. Is generally like how we go at the scrum has worked well into Brace in the way like Holly Davison, I think, is a great ref, big fan of. She doesn't like the way we scrummage. She just doesn't. It just like isn't how she likes a scrum to be run, and that's the rugby has laws not rules because it's up to the referee's interpretation. And
Paul William.
Yes, yeah, and yeah, Brace. I'm going to say this: we're now going to get pinged off the park all day.
Yeah.
I've jinxed this completely. So yeah, Andrew Brace will give us nothing.
So Joe Dwyer was winning the man of the match. The Ospreys and getting 0. Right.
Yeah. I think it's really weird actually because when you say what learnings can we take from the Stormers game last year is don't give away piss and penalty try and a yellow card to give them the bonus point.
Yeah.
And if you look, actually, all of their stuff came from open field.
Yeah.
So you look at the Dan Duplessis tries a bad defensive read by Keith, who he knows, like that's a bad defensive read, and the other one comes from like a wonder try where they're just keeping the ball alive. So actually, you have to shut down um that offloading game and also get the ball off the park.
Yeah.
Make Dweber throw. Like Dragons did this at our place last year. They gave Derby Lake 20 lineouts and he hit every one of them
Mm.
because they wanted to make him throw. Or
Yeah.
we were getting penalties and we were going for the corner and they're like, right, there's a chance that it's going to be Squiff. Make Dweber have that. Make
I-
Dweber throw in front of the cowshed.
yeah. You want that. You want to target that. And there are plenty of routes to get into them. The other interesting thing about this from a top 8 point of view, right, is the Storm as a team will very much be in contention at the end of the season. However, their opening run is us as the first game of the season, then Zebre away, then Edinburgh away, and then Munster at home. And then Glasgow at home. So the last two champions, after a tough run away. If they lose this, and then Zebre perhaps, manage to get a decent result against them, potentially they go to Edinburgh. There's a chance that the Stormers could be struggling after 5 or 6 games, and that may be relevant come the end of the season. This is another game that almost counts double for all the points we can deny the Stormers as well as pick up ourselves.
Yeah, but then again, they could easily win 3 of those games. Welcome the
That's true. That's true. They can win all of them.
Springbok Internationals back after Christmas, and then romp the league and finish 6th and win the playoffs. But
Yep.
no, it's kind of similar for both teams that they could do with a win. But sadly, they're playing each other, so that means one of them is, well, unless the game ends in a draw, which could easily happen.
You hope that the
Again.
Stormers are undercooked, don't you?
Yeah.
And yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. Right. Do you want to do a good player very quickly?
Sure. So a quick little good player.
Right. Do you want to do last year or should we do 16-all draw?
So the 16-all draw is less fresh in the memory. We
Okay.
can say we can be doing these 2 years behind. So next year it'll be the win from earlier this year.
Bold of you to think that we're going to be still on air next year.
That's a very fair point.
So I was at this game. Yeston, were you here as well?
Yes, I was. Yeah. It was very, very damp.
Very wet. Right. So Wayne Pivac was there.
Oh,
That was a rare sight.
Yeah.
I met Stephen Kitts off this game.
Hmm.
It was great. Right. Let's go. Should we do Stormers team first?
Yeah, that's
So actually, we'll do referees first. So referee was Gianluca Necchi. Ugh.
Yeah, he missed a forward pass or something
He
after about half hour. I think Joshua did a really good spell of attack. And Tiprick tried to give an offload and it didn't go to plan. Then they went up the other end and made a forward pass about halfway. And my dad sent me a message, which I don't think I can repeat. But yeah, he wasn't very happy.
Right. So Stormers, they've gone your way yesterday, 15-9. Clayton Blumcheese or Blumcheese, Scarlet's legend,
good player.
of course.
Good player.
Especially during that Cheetahs season. Excellent.
Big agree. Angelo Davids,
Good player.
like him a lot. Angelo Davids, great mustache. Always had a good mustache. And younger than you think as well. He's 25, so he was like 22, 23 in this game. Of course,
Sort of his breakthrough season.
Was part of the Commonwealth Games.
Yes, of course.
Alapati Leo at one of my
good player. Definition of a good player. Yes.
Loved Alapati Leo.
Heroic for Samoa for a long time. Like 2015 World Cup kind of era was brilliant for Samoa. Signed for Bristol. Wasps as well.
Yeah, 39 games for Wasps, 101 games for Bristol. He only played
great.
4 games for the Stormers. And this is
Wow.
And one of them was in Swansea. That feels like
one of
rather
I
close.
loved Alapati, and he's only 35 still. Like that's mental.
He could do a job. Can
He
we get
could
him
do
in?
somewhere. Yeah. Is it? Yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
didn't play a single home game for the Stormers.
Yeah,
Played Zebra Ospreys, Cardiff, and Claremont away. Then went
Ooh,
back to North Harbour.
he's only ever been yellow carded once.
Wow. This must be not counting half his career, though. You know, if it's all rugby, there's always a chunk missing.
Yeah.
He's a Samoan centre. He definitely got sent off at some point.
Dan Duplessis at 12, who has
Good
been
player.
at 12 for a while, I think, for Stormers now. Uh, then you go in, it was Maddie Lebock.
you've
Uh,
forgotten of a certain winger.
have I? Oh, sorry, Leland Zas.
Good player.
Yeah.
Yeah, good player, like Leland Zas. Great name.
Mm.
Scores loads of
Leland.
tries as well. So everyone has to say his name like every 10 minutes or so.
He
He
was
was
born in
the.
Worcester, in
Was he?
in South Africa,
Wow.
not in Worcester,
Oh, okay.
not in
I was
Worcester
gonna
on the
say
border of Wales, which
he
would
was
have
the
been fantastic.
top try scorer in the URC this season, wasn't he?
Or he certainly hit some form. Was it the first season of the URC? I never
Oh
remember.
no, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It was the season before. Yeah. Okay.
Good player.
Good player though.
Yeah, born in Worcester, but in um. Oh my God, he played against the Saxons. Oh, that's a kiss of death if I've ever seen it. Uh, then you've got Manu Lebock, so young Manu Lebock,
Yeah.
who
Pre everything. Manny
pre
Lebock.
yeah, he was good this game. He
Hmm.
was good. Kicked 3 pens and a conversion. So clearly it's a recent thing. Right. So then you go Paul Devet, who was he man of the match yesterday?
Well, I don't think he was, but scored a very good try.
Hmm.
Did score a good try. Then you go into the forwards now. Forwards are great. So you've got Ali Vermaak. Yeah. Andre
Yeah.
Hugo Venter, who I like. Big Andre Hugo Venter. Because he looks like a normal man. But he must have been like 21. He must have been like stupidly young because he's only 23 now.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, he was stupidly young. Then you've got Nietling Fouché, who's obviously probably going to start.
Solid player.
Salman Marat was captain.
Good player. He's one of those players that will be a good player when he retires, but right now it feels weird to call him a good player.
Yes, I agree. Also has the Killian Murphy eyes.
Stare back out at you.
Yeah, they do. Um, he was, of course, captain against Portugal.
Yeah.
And he was captain on this evening as well,
He
I
was
believe.
captain. He's the first ever Muslim to lead the Springboks in a test
Oh,
match.
wow. Cool.
And then next to him is Osprey's legend and one of our World Cup winners, Marvin Ory.
Yes.
Bring
A
him
hero, a legend, a man.
It was
Best.
it was the sole reason why I watched Bayonne against Perpignan in the first round of the top 14 the other weekend. Was to watch
Well,
him and Camille Lopez.
the best thing about Marvin Ory, right, is that after they won the World Cup in 2023, he didn't have time off. Because their team was it Perpignan?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, they're in the middle of a relegation scrap.
Yeah, so he went back to them straight away. Yeah, he's fallen out of favor, but bring him home.
Bring him home. Bring him back. Sign him. Bring him in. Come on, Mark Jones.
I think
Come on, Boise.
I think I mentioned this on the pod before. So when I worked on a pub in Swansea, sorry, I used to serve. One of my regulars was Scott Alton's grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And Marvin Ory stayed with Scott Alton. That was his like buddy
Right.
when he was over here, and he had Christmas at Scott Alton's like family's house. So Marvin Ory was teaching Scott Alton's grandfather like Afrikaans swear words at the dinner table. What a man. So then we got in the back row. This is up there for good player back row for me. So you got Namajaba,
Hmm.
who I feel like never gets the um plaudits.
I'm pretty sure he's made a switch somewhere as well, and I can't remember
He's
where
at the
he's gone.
Bulls now.
Has he gone to the Bulls?
The Bulls this year.
Yeah.
Um, you've got then Diamani, Hajibek Diamani.
Great player. What a player.
Has he gone to France?
He's at Racing.
Yeah,
He is at
Racing.
Racing. It was also his birthday 2 days ago. Happy birthday, Hajibek. And then Evan Roos at 8. So that's a great back row.
Yeah, that's a good back row.
That is a good
Whichever
back
way you look at it.
On the bench, then you got Joseph Dweber, Stephen Kitsoff, Brock Harris. Hello.
Good front row.
That's,
Good front row.
yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. Ernst van Ryn, the second row.
Solid player.
Very so. Marcel Thunison,
Also solid URC player.
Willie Engelbrecht.
Good player.
Uh, he's got great jawline, if I remember. Yeah. Really, he's got the big, like, Jamie Roberts type jaw. Bit around a while. And then Godlin Masimla. And then
I
can't remember if he actually came on.
no, I don't think he did.
I want to say DeWet played the full 80, and I think everyone else around him did as well.
it was very DeWet that day.
Yeah, it was. Sasha Ngomazulu, not even Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu.
Yeah.
What happened to him? What happened to that kid?
He's now a highlights reel magnet.
You said it, not me.
They won't do anything. Again, he was 19.
Oof.
Yeah.
His
His 7th game for the Stormers.
Yeah.
It started the week before against Zebre, which was his first start. He'd been like star for the under-20s. Yeah, he scored the previous week, then made the bench.
Good team.
Great
Very
team.
good team.
Yeah.
Good team. Right, Osprey squad very quickly then. This sort of writes itself at the time. Max Nagy at fullback, so would have been still quite a young Max Nagy
Yeah.
into test or club days. George North was on the wing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was,
was-
that weird timing where he got back from injury, but the Ospreys had played him on the wing instead of centre.
We didn't have much depth. Because when we go into the bench, you'll see wing was clearly a depth issue. Owen Watkin at 13.
Standard. What a player.
Yeah. Michael Collins at 12.
It was this part of the series where he kept putting Collins at 12 after his
After
in Glasgow, where he set up that last try.
I forget that Booth does this every season. He just swaps
He just switches someone around just for, I don't know what it's for.
For a laugh.
He's a maverick. Stopped. Giles, other wing, Myler and Webb.
Oh, mate. Stephen Myler.
The world's first static halfback partnership.
The pace on that.
The touchline conversion, though, to level the game was
a great touchline conversion. So Nicky, Dewi, Thomas Francis. Oh,
not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Not bad. Adam Beard, Alan Wynne Jones. Hello.
Also not bad at all.
Very good. Fresh off 2 Lions tours.
Yeah, 2 Lions tours.
2 Test Lions. Between them, they have 12 Lions caps. No, 13. Sorry, 13 Lions caps.
13, yeah. Jack Morgan, Morgan Morris, Ethan Roots.
How do you feel about that back row, James?
I want to cry a bit. As well as you pointed out this week that England owe all their back rowers to Ospreys.
Yeah, there's fresh talk of Ollie Cracknell getting an England call up, which, if so, they could put out an Underhill Roots Cracknell back row at all Ospreys produced back row.
Is there like a slice of money that the Ospreys would get from that?
We should get like subsidy, shouldn't we?
Like 10%
royalties.
fee.
Bench quickly then. Scott Baldwin obviously
Scored the
try.
Scored the try.
Reece Henry was at loose head.
Heroic.
Made a
Yeah.
half brick without when the clock in the red before Watkin dropped the ball. Yeah.
Tom Boter, the cunt. Dan Lydiate was a replacement flanker. Ruben, Jack Walsh, and Luke Morgan. So you can see
Was there any other centres in that squad?
Tom Florence was about 12.
Hmm.
I can't think of any other centres in that squad at the time.
Kind of feels like we only
Um,
obviously we had someone like Tian Thomas Wheeler as well, but
Yeah, Thomas Wheeler was there at the time.
it kind of felt like it's
Um,
rotated round.
CTW was there.
yeah,
Joe Hawkins would have been
Hawkins
around.
was about.
Hawkins, yeah.
Didn't start getting the URC all season.
He,
Hawkins,
he's
yeah,
done
and
so
that
That
was
was three
the
Wales call up Hawkins.
he's
That was
done so well since.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, those were all the centers in the squad that we used all season. Having just
Good
checked,
game. I remember it. I thought it was a good game.
it was competitive, tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
One
it
of
was
those arm wrestle league type games that people really don't like now, apparently.
scrum went well.
Scrum went very well, if I remember.
Yeah, scrum went really well. I'm looking at the highlights now. It was biblically wet.
I'm
Like
pretty sure that's the most amount of rain I've seen at any rate round ever.
like poor Stephen Myler. Uh where were we? Yeah. Well, it was I'm pretty sure it was it 3-3 at half time yesterday?
Um, could have been 3-3, 6-3, something like that. Trying to think now because the Stormers scored. I can't remember if they kicked the penalty about 10 minutes
You're
ago.
right. It was 3-3 at half time. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Bok penalty on 12 and Myler on 35. Oh no, sorry, 6-3, 6-3, 6-3.
Yeah, I thought it must have been something like that.
Yeah.
I just can't I still can't go with Duvenagi back at the Storm. It's like
He was on the bench where Benetton won in December.
Hmm.
the
In
one
that league game
at
before.
Stadium Ego.
Yeah, when yeah, I'm pretty sure he came off the bench about 20 to go, which kind of changed things a little bit.
Yeah.
When international test centre Luke Scully destroyed Malachi Fekitoa.
Wasn't the only he's not the only Welsh centre that's done that. If you've seen other games this
Oh,
weekend.
yes, sorry, I forgot. Jesus Christ scored on the weekend.
You said that, not me.
From Jesus. I think that's it, gentlemen.
Hmm.
I don't think there's much more to say. I think it's quite,
Yeah.
quite positive pod, actually.
Yeah.
Quite a low-key one. We'll be back next week at your usual Thursday in your little wherever you get your podcasts from. If you are enjoying what we do, please go and check out all the other pods in the Rap family. You can hear me every Tuesday morning ramble on about an Ospreys win or Ospreys loss. Insert them here on the Rap pod. You can hear Yestin ramble on in the Lord's language in Welsh on Pod Cymru. Robbie, you will be on ITV4
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
for reruns of the Sweeney.
Yes. Yeah, they've reinserted me
The
into the
Professionals.
Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so you'll be on ITV next week. When's your Love of Rugby coming out? Is it out already?
No idea. No idea. They
No
put
idea.
a clip of us talking about the British and Irish League up on YouTube. But yeah, no idea there.
So look out for that. Go check out Robbie's Argentina video, and the Glasgow video actually was very, very good. I very much enjoyed
Thank
them.
you. It was good to do
particularly
something.
where you called the Scarlets, or was it like tactically inept?
Yeah, I think the most tactically naive team in Europe. I think I called them.
Cool.
Yeah, and then they go and prove me wrong in Benetton, but that's fine. We can
I'm
live
going
with
to have that as a GIF on my gravestone.
that.
And yeah, that's it. So we're all on the socials. We're approaching 750 followers, which is mental because 750 of you want to hear us talk about or at least read about what, how much we miss Ethan Roots. And, clearly now this is an Alpati Leua fan podcast. But I think that's it, gents. Anything else before we go?
No, I mean, look, the UFC is being broadcast on a service this year that doesn't have obscure films to be recommended.
True.
So I can't do that. That feature's dead, unfortunately, until Premier Sports adds an access to watch like I don't know, like French language cinema. We're it's over. It's over, and I want that feature back.
Uh, I think instead you should go watch The Nomads from 2019, starring Tika Sumpter and Tate Donovan, which is about amidst the chaos of massive budget cuts and school closures, a newly appointed teacher introduces men's rugby to an inner city North Philadelphia school. So you should go watch that instead. If you want to watch some rugby related content. Tika Sumpter, obviously, who has been in
the Sonic the Hedgehog movies.
She was in Sonic the Hedgehog. That's where I recognized her from.
And Old Man and the Gun, which is superb, which is such a love. There's the recommendation for this week. Old Man and the Gun. Robert Redford's last film. Beautiful movie about this like elderly bank robber who just like loved robbing banks, and he would just walk in a suit and like very politely like ask for the money from the bank with a gun in his pocket. And everyone was just like, well, he's just such a gentleman. We didn't mind him robbing us. And it was based on like a real guy. And Robert Redford's last movie. It's a lovely, beautiful film about like just the act of finding the thing you love doing and doing it. And the thing this guy happened to love was robbing banks. Great movie. Old Man and the Gun. There you go.
I would say Tate Donovan is Hercules, is what I've just found out. So you've got the Maddie from Sonic the Hedgehog and Hercules bring rugby to a North Philadelphia school. There's your film recommendation. It's on YouTube. Go watch. Oh. That's the level we're talking. Right. I think that's it, gentlemen. Have a wonderful rest of the week. And Yeston, enjoy the brewery field, which I'm hoping you get to. For audio listeners, Yeston pulled a face.
Who knows?
I can only describe as, can you enjoy Bridgend?
It depends what happens on Saturday afternoon, but if everything goes to plan, I might be.
Okay. All right then. Good. Bye, everyone.
That was the Ospreys Diary. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.